If you've been on the internet at all in the last year, you've probably seen the headlines. Airbnb is oversaturated, regulations are killing hosts, the market's crashing, people are losing money left and right, and honestly, they're not completely wrong. But here's what nobody's actually telling you. They're not wrong about what they're seeing, they're wrong on why they're seeing it. The hosts that are struggling right now, they're all doing the same thing, and it has nothing to do with Airbnb dying. So in this video, I'm gonna show you the real reason Airbnb isn't going anywhere in 2026, and exactly what separates the hosts who are sitting at 90% occupancy rate from the ones crying in the comments that this doesn't work. My name's Aurelio, and I run the Arbitrage Empire. Now, we operate a portfolio of Airbnb properties across multiple states, and we help people build their own properties and portfolios from the ground up. Now, where I came from, I wasn't born into real estate, okay? I was a Division I baseball player at Seton Hall University on a full scholarship. And that was pretty much my whole entire life until I blew both my shoulders out. 3 surgeries, and my career took a quick 180. Now, the turning point for me was my junior year. I didn't have a plan B. I had a few $1,000s to my name, and I had all this time in my hands, and I refused to go get a job. So I went down every rabbit hole in real estate until I found Airbnb arbitrage, and I just went all in. Now, I didn't have a trust fund, I had no investors' money, I didn't have hundreds of thousands of dollars in my bank. I leveraged 0% interest business credit cards to actually get my first few properties live. And within a year, I was doing $10,000 a month, and 8 months after that, I was doing $30,000 to $40,000 a month. Now, I'm not just telling you this to flex. I'm telling you this because the strategy that I used is exactly what we're doing to help people out to get into Airbnb arbitrage right now. And the reason that this works is the exact reason why everyone is complaining. And that boils down to one thing, and that's exactly what I want to break down for you right now. Here's the biggest problem. Most people that think about Airbnb or start to get into it, they go after these 4, 5, 6 bedroom size properties. And what they do is they serve vacationers, tourism, people that are coming to the location, right, to vacation. And it's not that those properties don't work, okay? We really want to serve and boil down the people that we're actually accommodating these properties. So let's take an example. If you have a property over in Florida, right? Well, it's extremely hot in the summer. Let's say 4 months out of the year, there's not a lot of people going to those markets to vacation because it's extremely hot. So that's going to affect your occupancy rate certain months out of the year. And it's not that those properties don't work, right? It's something that you want to worry about later on in the portfolio when you can actually take on large fluctuations. So we have a completely different approach. And as I kind of dive into this, it's going to make total sense. You're going to be like, why didn't I think of this to begin with? So we have a completely different approach, and that's serving corporate professionals, people like travel nurses, doctors, lawyers, people that need to go to these locations to stay no matter the economy and no matter the season. So we go after these 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedroom size properties because it doesn't matter the economy we're in. It doesn't matter the season of the market. So what it boils down here is the people that we're accommodating in these properties. And the difference between serving corporate professionals and vacationers is, well, we're going to have a very high occupancy rate, way more consistent 12 months out of the year. Now, anyone that knows business, you want to have a consistent stream of income coming in to continue recycling the money back to scale, right? And that's the beauty of Airbnb arbitrage, is the scalability factor and the high scalability rate. So what I do with all my students and all my clients is we serve these corporate professionals that need to go to these locations no matter what. And that's how we actually hit these 90 to 100% occupancy months, 12 months out of the year. And again, it's not that those vacational properties don't work. It's something that you want to bring in the portfolio later on, because then you can actually take that large fluctuation of occupancy rate. Let's say if you are operating at 60% compared to 100% 12 months out of the year, but at least you have a main portfolio that is consistently occupied with the target audience that are bringing consistent traveling. And once I show you what the people at 90% occupancy rate are actually doing, it's going to seem so obvious that you're going to wonder why nobody's talking about it. Now, the people winning right now, they're not going after vacationers. Instead, they're going after what I call hybrid markets. Now, a hybrid market is a city that people actually want to live in and has hospitals, universities, and major big companies there, right? A few markets would be Mesa, Arizona, Raleigh, North Carolina, and Birmingham, Alabama, right? Really targeting traveling nurses, engineers that are relocating for work, corporate professionals, and those people don't book for 2 nights. They stay for 2 months. And that's the biggest difference of driving high occupancy rate with corporate professionals compared to serving vacationers, people that are only going to stay for a few weekends. Now, this is exactly what I did with my student Jake. Before Jake was working with me, he was a mobile detailer. He was making about $3,000 a month, but he was trading his time for money. Fast forward to today, Jake scaled to 13 properties in 14 months, leveraging 0% interest business credit cards. Jake didn't have $30,000 or $40,000 liquid sitting in his bank account. No, he leveraged the bank's money, used a business model, Airbnb arbitrage, that has a high scalability rate, and he scaled super fast. One of my other students, Daniel, came from real estate investing to begin with. All right, he was doing Section 8 and he was doing really well. And I'm bringing this up because it's not that vehicle or that business model in real estate, aka Section 8, doesn't work. It's that you have to identify the vehicles and what they're going to actually provide in return, meaning your goals. And for Section 8, you need a good amount of capital just to put down the down payment. Once we started working with Daniel, right, we got him into Airbnb arbitrage. He realized how low capital intensive was on the front end. He was actually able to scale much faster compared to scaling his Section 8 portfolio. Daniel, after he got a few arbitrage units up and running, the funny thing here, he actually converted some of his Section 8 properties into Airbnb units because he saw that the cash on cash return was much faster. Now, Daniel did $20,000 to $30,000 a month in revenue in February and March. He scaled to 7 units in 4 months. Now, that's why our clients are above 90% occupancy rate. Different game entirely. All those regulations people are freaking out about, they're aimed at tourism, parties, big properties. Well, midterm stays are almost never touched. The crackdowns are actually wiping out the competition. And right now, AI is scaring the heck out of people, right? People in tech, engineering, and law. These are the smart people who actually want to make income that doesn't depend on keeping their job. The people looking to get into this are only growing. Now, buying a property, well, you need multiple 6 figures sometimes to actually just even get started. Arbitrage gets you into these same markets for a fraction of that. So now that you understand why the model works, let me actually break down how it works. There are 4 steps and I want to walk you through each one. The first things first is we need to pick the right markets. That is the biggest risk in this business model. We need to make sure that we're going into the right areas and we're serving the right clientele, meaning the target audience. So one thing that I use is I go to AirDNA and I like to go through all these different markets that are in different states. And I like to find, okay, how many active Airbnb properties are there? Is it oversaturated? Is it not tapped into? And those are the numbers that you want to pull to give you a really good idea on how well the market's going to perform. Now, you don't want just to look at the overall market score, but you want to look at the demand there, the occupancy rate, how the other properties are performing there. And this AirDNA site is going to pull all the information and data based on how other Airbnbs and short-term rentals are actually performing. Now, as you go deeper into the markets, you're looking for massive hospitals, universities, Amazon warehouses, something that's driving massive corporate demand to those locations, and those are the markets that you want to tap into. Now, in correspondence with that, you want to look for a market that has some sort of regulation. I don't like to go into markets that have nothing because who knows, the city can kind of just come in, flip a switch, and stop allowing Airbnbs. So what I do for all my students in the markets that I operate in, we go into markets that have some sort of regulation, i.e., a small permit that you have to apply for or a short-term rentals license. We also need to stay away from highly regulated markets. For example, Los Angeles, they have a massive restriction against Airbnb. It's 30-day stay minimums, meaning you cannot host a guest for less than 30 days. Now, it's not that you can't perform well in those markets that have high regulations, but it's going to put massive strain on the business model, and we want to avoid that from day one. Now, the second step is going to be finding the right property. We want to go after 1 or 2 bedroom units. Those are the sweet spot for this model. Travel nurses and corporate professionals, they're not booking 4, 5, 6 bedroom houses, right? They're looking to stay in these smaller apartments or these smaller multifamily houses. We want to target properties that are going to net $1,000 per bedroom door. So for example, if we have a 2-bedroom size apartment, we are looking to profit about $2,000 a month from that one property. Now, I get this question asked all the time. Well, what happens if I sign a year or 2 or 3 year lease and I don't get bookings? Now, I want to compare something with you. Your exposure on Airbnb arbitrage on a normal lease is about $2,000 a month. If you compare that to 6 figures when you actually buy a property, there's a completely massive difference in risk exposure. So we need to understand that, right? You're signing a long-term lease, but your risk exposure is super low compared to you putting down 50 grand or $100,000 on a property that you're actually buying. Now, step number 3, you need to get the landlord on board for this business model. Now, most people are terrified of this conversation and it's quite hard, but when you break it down, it becomes quite simple. And here's the thing, you need to position yourselves well in front of these landlords. So what I like to break down as is you need to identify landlords, property management groups, or apartment complexes goals. Their goals are to continue buying more properties and scale their portfolio. They've already hit their cash flow goals. So what we want to do is we want to position ourselves in the correct way to actually get them to understand our business model and understand that we're providing a massive solution for them. So what I also like to break down is understanding their problems. Their problems is finding good, reliable tenants year after year that are going to actually pay rent on time every single month. When someone like us comes to play, we can go ahead and take multiple properties off their hand. Instead of dealing with all these different tenants, we become their one tenant and we're going to manage the property for them. They don't need a property manager. So all these different problems that we solve for these landlords, it's massive. And when you position yourselves in the correct way, you get a much higher success success rate to actually land these deals. Now, step number 4, you need to set up the portfolio to run without you. So the first things first, we need to plan the furniture delivery date on your lease start date, not before, not after. We want to plan all of that stuff to arrive so you could go there, set everything up, unbox it, furnish it, and actually get that property live in about 2 days. Now, one of the biggest things that I work with all my students and my clients is actually building the foundational part of this business, implementing systems, teams, and automations. So the first things first that I want to cover with you guys is you need to set up a property management software. I personally like Hospitable. There's a ton out there. I like to keep things super simple and the ones that are actually going to get the job done the fastest. Hospitable is going to be something that allows you to pretty much automate about 70% of the guest communication, right? So you upload your welcome messages, your check-in messages, your checkout messages, everything that a guest needs to actually arrive to your property, have a smooth check-in, and of course, have a wonderful stay with you. Now, this is going to alleviate a lot of the time because your focus and energy does not need to be going into sending these messages to the guests. You need to be putting that time, focus, and energy into landing more deals, creating new relationships, actually scaling the portfolio. Now, the biggest software that I use in this company is PriceLabs. PriceLabs is a dynamic pricing software. All right, so this software is actually going to adjust your pricing automatically pretty much daily. And it takes all the other short-term rentals in the area based on how well they're performing, what they're getting booked at, what properties are actually vacant. And all those things are super crucial because when you go live with your property, your pricing needs to be set to a T. Okay, so we use PriceLabs. You have to program it correctly because we need to make sure, okay, we're setting a price ceiling and a price floor. And when you do these things correctly, you get what my students get. They get their first booking in less than 24 hours of going live. Now, pricing is the biggest backbone of this company. Don't let anyone tell you different, right? So what we do with all of our clients before they actually launch their property is we have to pull all that data. We have to pull all that information. So when they go live, we actually have their pricing set to a T based on the right demand and the actual season of the market. Now, what you want to do when you actually go out to the property is you need to build a boots on the ground team. So the second biggest backbone of this business is actually having really good, reliable cleaners. So while you're there, what I do with all my students is we like to run trial cleans on cleaners, meet 4, 5, 6 different cleaners where you're actually furnishing the property, right? It's usually a mess. There's a lot of styrofoam everywhere, boxes everywhere. So we like to bring in different cleaners of the market, see how they clean, get to know them a little bit, see which ones you like, and those are the ones that you want to bring onto the team to actually grow with you long term. Now, for all my students, I give them my cleaners checklist. Okay, we're not here to teach them how to clean. They got to be good at that already. What we do want to do is implement a couple things into the procedure, such as taking before and after photos of every clean, taking photos of things that could be damaged, and actually making sure nothing is missing out of the property. So cleaners are really, really important. It's something that we want to dial in on our first property because then we could bring those cleaners in and scale with them for long term and actually add them to other properties we bring into the portfolio. Now, as we grow and scale the Airbnb portfolio, listing on Airbnb only is a big mistake. You need to be diversified. Listing on VRBO, Booking.com, Furnish Finder, right? On all these different short-term rental websites because people use all different services. Some people like VRBO rather than just Airbnb. So we need to diversify and be on multiple different marketing channels. And that's what's actually going to drive our occupancy much, much higher. If you want us to handle all of that for you, go ahead and book a demo call below. We'll jump on and see if this actually makes sense for your situation, see how I can help you out.